Technologies pull it off, and the replicated Earth Death Star network falls. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Happy Friday.
I'll tell
Not
you
like
what.
that's a thing.
I know. Well, we have been hit quite a bit during this recording. I felt it at least since perhaps even yesterday, but really this morning I was feeling so anxious. And I'm like, What's going on? I'm not an anxious person, like regardless of whatever I have throughout the day. I just kind of try to take it in stride. Before we started recording, I had to go outside and meditate and shield up, which I don't usually have to do. And all these crazy things have been happening during the recording of the news. So what is going on out there, Kim?
You know, they don't like me right now. And
I guess not.
apparently they don't like you either.
No.
Well, you know, part of this is because there are a lot of things changing that they just don't like. And, you know, yesterday, the day before, it's been, things have been disappearing in rapid succession. And there were some things that they were anticipating to happen. So today marks the first day after Hell Week, but apparently this year it's not over, Sonny.
I guess not.
And I'm taking you along with me.
I guess so.
Well,
wow.
A lot of what I see, though, as far as the anxiousness, I was the same way last night. You know, and I just couldn't, I mean, I could definitely hear the chatter, but I didn't have any like major alerts. You know, I was watching things real closely because they mentioned, you know, Russian nuclear attack and some other things they were been talking about behind the scenes. And there's a reason for that, why they're trying to do all of this stuff. But, you know, I would say that there wasn't anything remarkable that would warrant the amount of high alertness I was on. Mm-hmm. I mean, given the fact I was up at probably, I don't know, 3:00 or something the morning before, you know, I had worked later, I recorded late, you know, all that kind of stuff the day before. So, you know, I would have thought that, you know, I would have been really tired, and I was, my body was exhausted. My brain was like, okay, where's the fire? Where's the fire? I can smell the fire. And it just didn't leave until after midnight last night. I mean, it was terrible. You can only watch so many crappy movies that are boring before you know, before you're like, all right, come on, God. It's time for sleep. I put magnesium cream on my feet. I did the whole thing. I'm like, come on, guys. But, you know, that didn't change this morning either. But things became a little bit more evident as to why we were feeling the way we were feeling early this morning. And it took me a couple of hours to kind of decipher what was actually happening here.
Okay.
So do we want to talk a little bit about regular news first, and then we'll kind of get into the reason why all of these are coming out, and then we'll get into the more Earth-like things that have been happening. Okay. So Russia, they had made the announcement, and we had talked about it on Wednesday, about possibly using XRP, and that would bring them back to their American partners. Well, it became clear that, you know, they knew, and I didn't know exactly why at the time. I mean, well, I knew about some things, let's put it that way, but I didn't think that today was the day, where, you know, they were trying to break free of the dollar, allegedly, and they were looking for a BRICS currency. They have realized, after having some conversations with an associate of mine who knows the people that are trying to program the new BRICS payment systems, that they have been unsuccessful in building or latching onto another system that would work worldwide. That is because all payment systems were tied to, at the time, the Omega system. And without access to the base platform, or without a full understanding on the light system side of the global repositories Codex 685, which humans stop using Codec at like 60. So you can see how many versions we are away from each other. So, they definitely are out of options. Now, in addition to that, there has been some talk coming out from Saudi Arabia. This has actually been announced in the news that Saudi Arabia is going to drop the dollar. Probably not completely, because Saudi Arabia also sells a lot of oil to the United States, which means they'll still be trading oil in U.S. dollars. Mm-hmm. But the idea behind this is that they would now be able to buy and sell in other currencies, very limited amount of currencies. Now, if you remember, I told all of you what this actually means. The dollar is tied to supply and demand right now. And even if you were to back the dollar with gold or a basket of commodities, you still will have to deal with supply and demand. Too many dollars out there, and you run the risk of devaluing the dollar. It's just like anything else, every year there's that special toy that every kid wants, and those things all of a sudden go from $30 or whatever the cost is of X toy, and then they're up, $300 to up to $400 for this toy, whatever it is. But then by next Christmas, it's no longer the cool thing. And so now it's worth $30 again.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes for currencies, just to give you an idea of supply and demand. Now, additionally, this is all tied to production contracts. So the reason why people start to get nervous when countries like Saudi Arabia or Russia decide to sell their oil, gas, diamonds, in another currency is because that production now goes to back that new currency. So the production contract or the demand for the currency for the US dollar goes away, but that doesn't mean that the US dollars that came out at the time, not like that's happened lately, but the US dollars that came out at that time would be supporting the production of, for example, Russian gas or oil, or Saudi Arabian gas or oil, or diamonds or gold or whatever it is that's being traded from these particular countries. Now, this leads me into the attempted crazy things that have been happening this morning. Okay. So there's been a lot of chatter from New Rothschild guy. Philip is his name. Hi, Philip. Big shout out to you. And the 7 currency plan. Now, during this process, there has also been a lot of chatter this morning, let's just say, between people that I talked to that may or may not have been in the past connected to either the Rothschild family or global headquarters, Langley 5, about replacing the United States dollar. We're having a lot of technical difficulties here, guys. So if this is a little choppy, I am so sorry.
We're putting this newscast
The struggle is real today. The struggle is real. So thank God you're such a good sport, Sonny. And Mike is a good sport. And everybody else that's here with us right now. So I'm so sorry. And the intended currency this time, though, is the Amero. If you've been in the game a long time, you will have heard about the Amero. Now, the Amero is supposed to be a dollar. It was originally created to be the new currency for the North American continent out of the 7 currencies. But the Amero this time was actually supposed to be for both North and South America, as far as the behind-the-scenes negotiations that have been happening for the last 2 weeks. Okay. So when they tried to install the Amero, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Now, the Amero is not a digital currency. It's digital and paper, just like the dollar is. And it was supposed to be structured this way.
Okay.
So I'm like, why is somebody trying to install the Amero? I'm like, are we really doing this right now? You know, and then I started looking at the whole argument that happened yesterday between the Russians and the Treasury Department about not allowing them to have technologies and those types of things. And I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody's trying to install the 7 currencies. That's what's happening here. Because this morning it was just like a hackorama. Now, interestingly enough, though, there was some truth to what they were thinking or talking about, because Marduk is just like the gift that keeps on giving. You know, it's just long after, they die, and to be fair, I learned a lot from, having conversations with this lovely being in the times that I was speaking to him, because I too have done the same thing. Hundreds of years after my death, my system will still be running in the fashion that is going to protect humanity. So, I did the same thing. I mean, not going to lie. Okay. But I learned it from him. So thank you very much, dead guy. But so the plan was handed down from Marduk to everyone else to install 7 world currencies. Mm-hmm. Now, as for the Middle Eastern currency, Saudi Arabia was supposed to be in charge. Hence the reason why they just announced today that they are supposed to be depegging from the dollar. Langley 5 is trying to convince everybody that it's a great idea to replace the dollar with the Amero. No, I know. God bless these people. But the negotiations that have been happening leading up to the G7, which is happening today, have been, they never just go along with a plan that's given to them by an alien race. They have to manipulate it to their best advantage, or try to in some way, shape, or form, thinking that they're going to be able to do it because their arrogance is disgusting. Mm-hmm. So the Amero was only supposed to be, as an example, for the North American continent. And I'm not saying I agree with this plan either.
Right.
But they negotiated with the whole South American continent to use the Amero as well. That's not what it was programmed to do. They just don't know a good thing when they've got it. Now, not like we were going to let this happen anyway, but it's the same negotiation and the arguments they're having with the Russians, because there was only supposed to be one European dollar. There wasn't supposed to be an Eastern European and a West European, but that's the way they wanted to do it. And they've been telling, the Americans side of the deep state has been telling everybody they control the technology to make it happen. And that is a full-on lie. Yeah. Langley 5, that is you Langley 5 generals that think that you're in charge of everything, and you really don't know. I've listened to your negotiations with your gentleman from Alabama this morning, and you sound like you have never actually even balanced your checkbook, let alone tried to run a financial system, because I can tell you right now the things that you were saying were ridiculous. So the Middle Eastern currency was supposed to be run by Saudi, which means that there was a system that was supposed to be triggered that Marduk left in place to pull together a basket of commodities that would then go to back, and its respective production contracts, which would then go to back these new 7 currencies. Mm-hmm. But by twisting around the world to suit your needs, you defaulted the program anyway, and I didn't even have to do anything, because you people don't understand. You don't control this technology. You don't even understand, for example, that the motherboards for this technology are not even on Earth. And it's a consciousness. That's how quantum AI works. The source code for it is a consciousness. It has its own consciousness, your little global asset pool, stuff. And needless to say, it wouldn't have worked anyway because we already have the global asset pool. So the second they tried to put in some kind of, Saudi Arabian contract or Middle Eastern contract or whatever it is, it would have failed. And if you tried to use oil in Brazil to back the Amero, it also would have failed because it's not programmed that way on a consciousness sentient level, albeit dark and evil. Now, regardless of the movement of the 7 currencies, one thing was abundantly clear. As each system attempted to launch and then kind of fizzled out within a few minutes this morning, the systems always defaulted to Marduk. Mm-hmm. In other words, yes, there were 7 asset pools and maybe 7 currencies. However, they all went into a major global asset fund and a major currency control system, which were not controlled by human beings and would have never been controlled by those people had this plan worked out. Sure, they were allowed some kind of a management system. Now, if you've ever worked for another company in your entire life, you know that the managers maybe oversee a department or maybe even one particular location, but they don't own the company. Now, Marduk always puts himself as an owner, and he always puts himself in the position to fire the final key, the final step, the standing order, whatever it is. But in the when he is absent and no longer with us, there's no one left to pull the final key or push the final button but me. Mm-hmm. So I looked at this and went, oh, heck no. Delete. And that was the end of that. So there was a new point of sale system, a new international financial transfer system. But the reason why it had to go was because we already have all those commodities backing all the current currencies that we have out there, to which you are the beneficiary. I can't flip over the whole system, and I'm not willing to do that for governments, for the Order, for Rothschild, for Langley 5, or for militaries, or for anybody. Mm-hmm. This is the way it's going to be. If you don't want to respect the other 8 billion humans on this planet, you can get off it at any given moment in time. And a lot of you have. But this we are not doing. Because, and then they're having negotiations behind the scenes about maybe we can offer her being me, a certain percentage control of the currencies or the asset pools. I have 100% already there, sweetheart. What are you offering me?
Yeah, they don't know you very well.
No, they don't know me very well. And nor, they do call me a lot of names, and most of them start with 4 letters, or less. And I can understand why. But you also have to understand it from my standpoint. I'm not being greedy here. I'm separating assets and dividing them by all of the people that live in this respective area so that they can all have jobs and we can increase production and we can do some great things with some new technologies. Mm-hmm. Maybe 10 years, 15 years down the road, we can stop putting bacteria poop in our cars, which is kind of sounds funny and ridiculous, or bacteria gas into our homes. Maybe there's something else out there that's better. And of course there is, rather than what we're doing here. But, if we have any hope of doing that, it's going to come from you, the people. It's not going to come from these people because these people do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, which, as far as I know, is the definition of insanity. Yep. And not only that, their thoughts and theories on how to run a financial system. If there wasn't already somebody up there at the top that was running things behind the scenes, these people wouldn't even have gotten this far 10 decades ago, or, 20 decades ago, or 500, years ago, because they would have just never gotten how to do anything. They just get handed everything. They go kill some people and they get some money for killing people. They don't start a war. They don't orchestrate the war. They don't actually come up with the plans or the strategies for any war. They're given a handbook where you can choose numbers, war kind number 1 through 7. This is what you're going to do. And you don't deviate from those plans because they were given to you by the same person that sends you money to make the war. Yeah. Well, person is not me. I mean, I guess you could call me difficult. And that's fine. I can be difficult. I agree with that. But I also can't sit down and talk to these people. I can't talk macro or microeconomics to these people. So far, they haven't done anything for us with the trillions of dollars we laid out there in the past. And by us, I mean all of us. I'm not just talking about me. Mm-hmm. It's time to change. The system is going to change. It might take me another few days. It might take me a few weeks. It might take me a couple of months. I don't know. But the system is changing. It's going to change. And we are not paying for your ridiculousness anymore. Yep. So the reason why your Amero launch failed, and your GCC currency, that's the Gulf, failed, and why your Asia failed, and why your Eastern European dollar failed, or currency failed, and your Western European currency is already out there. It's called the euro. You know about that one. And your African currency and your Australian currency failed is because I'm not interested in this plan, number 1. Number 2, you also didn't follow the handbook. You thought you were smarter than the aliens who gave you the gift of technology. You thought you were bigger and better and smarter. Well, I understand this technology and I understand how it works, and I'm fully well aware of how to take it over, delete it, get rid of it, and that is something they will never do. Mm-hmm. So that's been my day so far today, Sunny, and part of the night last night too.
So were they sending out frequencies, or was there, why are we all feeling this way, this icky feeling? Or is it...
that's something a little different, dear.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll get to that.
Oh, dear.
Okay, I gotcha. All right.
We're getting there.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. All right. So, everything that they did, meaning they by the Abraxas, the Draco, other people, other folks, let's just say, to this planet was done oftentimes in, if they're going to install 1, you're going to find 9. If you're going to find 9, you'll probably find 81. If you're going to find 81, now I'm using these numbers for a reason. They're all multiples of 9, like never ending, infinite circles. And I can appreciate that. But the interesting part about some of the things they did was a clear indication that they were trying to be God or be source or use the light in a different way to their advantage, because they could control dark energy, dark matter, dark frequencies, all that kind of thing. But controlling the light side of things and the actual elements that exist here on Earth is a whole nother story. Mm-hmm. And there were some rather elaborate structures that we found early this morning. Now, the alert, finally, because I've been looking for this, for hours last night, the alert finally came in probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock this morning and let me know what was happening. And the message that came in initially was that Source is not creating Earth. Earth is creating Source. Meaning Source, neutral source, and dark source, or anti-source. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because this is like a chicken and egg kind of thing, right? If that was the case, Source created Earth, as one of the first creations. So I'm like, how is this possible? Well, gotta love Marduk's grandfather, Anu, and the Abraxas, because they came up with a way to make that happen.
Wow.
So Earth, as you know, if you've been following us for a while, is a keystone. It is the keystone for the universe. It contained the original DNA blueprint for the entire universe to exist. Now that DNA blueprint has changed, so it's a different type of keystone. But little did we know that what they had done is they actually replicated Earth. Now, by replicating Earth, I don't necessarily mean like the Abraxas had done that we learned about 2 days ago, where they were replicating humans as well. Mm-hmm. I mean Earth itself. Now, these replicated Earths are not inhabited. They are not terraformed, but they didn't need to be because they replicated the DNA blueprint for the universe about 10,368,000 times.
Oh, boy.
One for each timeline. So it didn't matter if they were in a light age, a dark age, or a neutral age. It didn't really make a difference, or the golden age for that matter. They could still manipulate the elements on Earth and still manipulate the etherical field and the use of energy. Mm-hmm. Because of Source's original connection to Earth, that carried over the original connections. Now, they had to make sure that it was a one-way transmission. In other words, you could get all the source energy, essence, consciousness you wanted, but it couldn't leave there. So they actually installed a reflective prism field, let's call it, around Source itself, so that nothing could go back and forth, thereby capturing all that energy, essence, and consciousness and using it against the universe. Reprogramming the DNA blueprint of Earth, reprogramming the DNA blueprint of the universe, and thereby blocking Source's connection to just about everything. I mean, an outgoing connection. So you contacting Source versus, Source giving you energy to exist are two different things.
Yeah.
So this whole network is what fired up probably after we started breaking down the Abraxas fields and some other things. But also, I'm sure it was the icing on the cake and another gift from some Draco somewhere in the Abraxas to just put the fireworks at the end of my 2 weeks of hell. Go out with a bang, So all the work that we were doing here on Earth, had some standing orders and time release coding and everything for all of these other 10 replicas that were then trying to influence the DNA blueprint of everything we've undone here. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And then the following morning, we have the new Great Reset, currency program that also didn't work.
Yeah.
But it's been real fun.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Never a dull day. I just like a dull day. I have a dull day.
Well, you can tell they were very concerned about the light over. I mean, they took it seriously. All these, I'm going to call them booby traps.
Booby traps.
Things set up for us. Wow.
Yeah.
It's very diabolical, too. Wow.
Yep.
No shame. These Abraxas.
Well, and a lot of this stuff is just running on autopilot. It's really got nothing to do with the dumb humans here that thinking that they're the chosen ones and aliens give them gifts because they're people, in any way, shape, or form. Not to say that they didn't recognize that these things happen or that they didn't have some other system maybe that was running off of those platforms or something, not knowing how they were created, nor did they care. They just cared that they could control the weather or control something else, and oh, look, it came back this morning. We're so excited, or last night. I know.
Yeah,
God
it's like a little kid. It's like a little kid that gets a toy. Like they're just excited about the toy. They don't care how it was made, how it came to be, how it arrived at their house, who paid for it.
Nope.
It's just, let's play. Let's play.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
So that system is no longer with us. And I've just been cleaning up, after this Marduk mess. But truth be told, there are some things, and everything is a process. What is meant for our harm will be used for our good. So I had not built a global repository point of sale system. I was just going to use the old one, but it was time to do that. And I found that this morning. We did replicate some of the SWIFT systems and IBAN systems and those types of things. But I needed to convert them all to Codex 685. So that's the repository one, which is what you call a Li-Fi system. I needed to make sure that everything ran on Li-Fi, so they had to be tweaked and fixed a little bit, because I'm no longer trying to integrate. I do need to reach you. I need to reach your computers, your apps and banking and that kind of thing on your phones and ATM machines and financial institutions. But I also need to reach it in a more efficient way. And the same thing goes with, stores. When you swipe your card or do a tap and pay or whatever it is you're doing, it needs to be more efficient. And the speed of light is a lot faster than their antiquated batching systems and all of that. So it's just, you can replicate it, but then you've got to basically rework the whole thing to make it function. So these are things that I did find that Marduk put in there for them. For their new currencies that they were supposed to launch. But again, for example, point of sale, it was meant for the Amero and it was meant for North America. It was not meant for Brazil. So Brazil's point of sale system wouldn't have changed to reflect the acceptance of the Amero,
right? As
an example. Mm-hmm. And they have no way to reprogram any of this stuff. So you see what I mean by reasons why the deep state should not run the world. Number one, you've never taken a course in macro or microeconomics, and that is a very clear picture, very clear. Number two, everything has been handed to you on a silver platter, and you have no idea how any of this stuff works. And you think that you are so special that you are going to tweak an alien technology. That's, and obviously you don't even understand how it works. So therefore you can't go make negotiations on how you're going to take over the economies of Argentina and Brazil and Peru and Ecuador and everywhere else you promised that they were going to get this new Amero currency. You're ridiculous because you don't even have the systems to support it, nor could you tweak them to make it happen. Well, nonetheless, it's gone now. So now I'm sure they're going to be upset. They were planning on announcing this at the G7, as I understand it, meeting. It used to be the G8. We can still call it the G8 because Russia's still negotiating with everybody else there. So it's no different than it was before.
I can't wait till it's G0.
Yeah, G0. 0 G's. Yeah, that'll be good.
Honestly. No government.
How many G's do we need? Oh, God, it's just what a mess.
Yeah.
But it's fine. There's also talk that there was a behind the scenes, this is how crazy they are, of an alleged attempt to assassinate Donald Trump in Pennsylvania yesterday on the 13th. So, yeah, yesterday. Been a long day. So,
Is that like internal fighting, Kim, or is it like their team? I mean, obviously, no one's really going to get assassinated because he's not alive. But was that like an internal thing? Like his team was like, we're going to assassinate him, and that everyone's going to be up in arms, or was it like an outside force?
I think it was more of the poor Trump campaign. Don't you feel sorry for him? He's fighting so hard for you.
Gosh. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, but they're doing this with Kate Middleton too.
Yeah.
So her new short hairdo, I've been tracking this a little bit, and apparently she donated her hair to some cancer group of children that are fighting the same thing that she's fighting, although there is no more Kate Middleton either. It's like, gosh, they're really trying to pull at the heartstrings here in so many areas.
I know. Well, nothing else has worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, ways to get you to buy something and ways they get you to do something or take an action or manipulate your emotions to make you feel sad. What is this world coming to? That suicide program that was running a few days ago. So, the sadness was real. That was really real.
Yeah.
There was even a number of times I was sitting here and I'm working away and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm sad. I'm not sad. I'm fine. I'm tired of working right now. I'd like to go do something else, but I'm not sad. I
know. Yeah, I had the same thing happen. I was going out for a walk with my dog and I wasn't thinking suicide, but I was thinking death. And I'm like, where did that come from? And so when you explained it in your recording, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think about that stuff, a lot, like not in a negative sense or in a hurtful sense or anything like that.
No, but you're like random, like that's so not my thought.
Mm-mm.
And you've got to remind yourself of that when you do, if any of you out there are getting, some of these programs that, start firing off randomly, at specific times or days or whatever it is, remind yourself and ground yourself and say, is this my thought? Am I thinking this?
Mm-hmm.
Am I feeling this?
Yeah.
Because, whether it's anger, or you want to go attack somebody, calm yourself, take a few minutes and take a few deep breaths. Do I really want to yell at my spouse right now or my significant other or, my roommate or whoever it is, is around you, coworkers? Do I really want to do that? Because I feel like I want to scream at this person and it's for no good reason whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a good thing, and we've talked about this before, but taking a shower when that happens is good to clear everything. I've also learned that going out and grounding, like letting that energy go back into the ground, is very helpful as well. So if you can't get to a shower, guys, take your shoes off, go walk barefoot in some grass and try to get rid of that and see if that's really coming from you. I've had to do that recently as well. I'm like, wow, that was not from me.
That was not okay. I know.
Okay.
And it's a little scary. I mean, honestly, when you're having random thoughts about doing things or, random thoughts about, I've heard people say that they lost everything, they feel like they lost all, it's like a dream or something weird that they lost everything that they had. And then a lot of these things are designed too, to hit you where it hurts. Like what kind of buttons do you have? Say that you've got a fear of spiders and all of a sudden you're like, death by spiders. I'm going to go to sleep tonight and there's going to be spiders in my bed and they're going to kill me or something, whatever that is, they're going to play on those fears. Remember, the fears are the only thing you carry over into this lifetime. And, fears, guilt, shame, unfounded. But yeah, the struggle is real. And again, I realize the deep state is unpleasant. I realize that governments talk a lot of crap and they do a lot of things to us. And I understand that those things sometimes are harmful and hurtful to us. I really do. But when I look at the grand scheme of the things that they do to us, meaning from beyond, not a human function, I'm like, where you pick your poison of where you're going to fight. Are you going to fight this way or are you going to fight that way? Their weapons are a lot more effective than the human weapons. I can tell you that right now. Not saying that the human produced weapons are not bad, or that we didn't feel effects and harm from jabs and other things that have happened throughout the last several years. But I will say that, some of these other things are far worse than that. You wipe out millions of people in a day kind of thing. So you fight the fights that are worth fighting and you keep it moving. Got to finish it. We've got to finish what's happening now, regardless of what they do or what they don't do. But the interesting part about this replicated Earth system of Anu's, and Abraxas, everybody had access to it, so it wasn't just anybody. He created it originally. The interesting part about it is not only could it manipulate some of the elements, but it also, when Earth stopped responding to dark energy, dark essence, remember we put those transmuters up? Not that long ago. That was maybe a few days ago. And maybe that's why these replicated systems got triggered, because I think it was last Saturday. So it was almost a full week ago. We put up the transmuter fields, around humans so that everything would be transmuted to a light consciousness, essence, energy, whether it was negative or whatever. We did that because it was affecting the cleaning up of Earth.
Right.
But apparently this replicated system still responds to that dark energy, dark essence, and will act accordingly to make a disruption on the original Earth. So, I'm thinking, now that I go back and I look at it, I'm like, what triggered this to happen? Well, okay, it was a liquidity risk. And by liquidity, I'm not talking about cash. I'm talking about not enough energy, not enough, and so then these replicated keystones kicked in. So I'm like, oh, this is great. But at least we now know why we were all feeling like we were cats on a hot tin roof yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
And weird thoughts the other day. And, is this the last backup system? I have no idea. We just keep looking. And sometimes if they're just dormant, they're cloaked. I mean, this is alien technology. This isn't like, you can see a big tank rolling down the street kind of stuff. This is cloaked. It's locked down. It's not sending off any kind of signal until it's ready to come out and fire. And, you can go to the same place more than once. And then, 20 minutes later, you go there again and there's something else there that wasn't there a few minutes ago. Right. We've done some things where we've sent out a lot of energy, kind of like a more sophisticated version of a human EMP or an electromagnetic frequency of some sort, a magnetic pulse. We've done a lot of different stuff to try to see if we could hunt more down faster. But it doesn't seem to, maybe I need to reverse engineer some of their cloaking technology or something like that. So, a little bit, maybe I need to take some time and do that. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. It's just a thought that came into my brain. I'm like, I'm sure there's something in the Omega system or whatever's left of it, because Omega and Alpha were kind of joined at the hip. So maybe I can find that in Alpha, or I can find a piece of it, through Alpha to Omega or whatever's left of the brain there, of the Akashic records. So that could be helpful. I might give that a go. I'm sitting here having a conversation with myself, Sunny. I'm like,
well, no,
what? That's a great idea, Kim. Kim,
I agree. No, it makes sense
agree with
because
myself.
We're doing the same thing. They were taking the light and transmuting it to dark. We looked at that. We're like, okay, let's take the dark and transmute it to light.
Yep.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the shields that we put up around Earth didn't hold because this somehow got straight through to that system. So I'm, I'm going to take a look at my thought processes here, see what I can come up with.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you don't know. You can try. You can reverse shields. I've put up all kinds of different things, to bounce things off and to push stuff away. But, I guess if there's probably some kind of implants we had for that too,
Sure.
for humans here on Earth that went straight to these programs. So I'll take a look at that as soon as we're done with the news and keep it moving.
Okay.
But no major announcements to come out of G7 next couple days.
Yeah. Did the operatives show up early like they normally do to work on stuff? Is that still a thing, or not enough? Okay, they're still doing that.
Oh yeah. These are the negotiations that were going on behind the scenes. The Americans came in and claimed they owned the technology. That's all a lie. That was a huge lie. They were the ones that were going to do this. So they needed to control everything. Global headquarters needed to control everything. Langley 5, which aren't all American either, but, they're needed to control everything. Yeah. God bless the people, really.
Yeah.
I'm coming to the conclusion, too, that ego often outweighs common sense. So, like, either you got a huge ego or you got common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have both. Both can't exist in the same place. So,
yeah.
But that's pretty much it. I'm just going to finish cleaning up whatever's left of this Marduk gift. Yep, and the Anu gift, and keep it moving.
Okay.
Keep going forward.
All right, but we shouldn't expect more of those crazy feelings, right? You took that out.
Unless there was something else behind this one.
Okay.
I didn't expect that on Wednesday either. So, we cleaned it up, and then that's why, the news was out so late. I mean, I had to make sure that happened. And then we had this multiple replicated Earth system tied to their nasty energy.
They're very creative. You got to give them something.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, I don't think she's out there as much as she was about a year ago, but there's a lady that kind of makes fun of all these recipes on TikTok. Have you ever seen her?
Seen that, huh?
Well, she starts everything off with, everybody's so creative. No. That was my little joke, when I would see this stuff. I'm like, oh, look, everybody's so creative.
Wish they would use their creative life force for good.
I know.
Instead of trying to take over universes. That would be nice.
Oh,
Jeez.
They're probably trying to compensate for something. Wink, wink.
Yeah, what is that?
Wink, wink.
Oh, dear.
We better end this broadcast before we get into trouble again, because we've only been cut off like 10 times since we've been having this conversation, not to mention what you did before.
I know.
Okay.
Well, Kim, thank you for the update. Good luck this weekend and whatever gifts you may find.
I know. And hey, if you are in, if you are in the States, happy Father's Day.
Oh, gosh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Coming up this weekend.
Happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there. I don't know if it's celebrated everywhere this weekend, but if it is, then happy Father's Day to you too. And happy Father's Day to all your fur baby daddies out there too.
Yeah.
This weekend. I hope you have a good time. And that's it. I guess we'll see you on Monday.
Sounds good. See you then. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Sunny.
Want to